This past week, I was taking a couple of my own kids, my only couple kids, to this thing called summer camp. Summer camp is so much fun. And so before you go to summer camp, you got to take your lunch. You got to pack a lunch, right? You got to take a water bottle. And so summer camp means that dad's got to help the little ones make their lunch and got to make sure everybody has their water bottle, got to make sure they have on closed-toed shoes, like all the things that we have to go through to get these people to summer camp. You got to have all the food and enough to get through the day, lunch, snacks, all the stuff. Energy drink for some of them, water for the others. It reminded me that we spend all week feeding our body. We have breakfast, some of us. We have lunch. We have dinner. We have snacks in between the meals. We have dessert sometimes. Hopefully we get some protein in us and we get some water in us. All day long we are feeding ourselves food throughout the day. But the question tonight is, what is feeding your soul? What is feeding your soul? Deuteronomy 6, we're going to read these verses again that we read last week. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Or some translations say that the Lord our God is one Lord. The Lord is our God. The Lord is one. Verse 5, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Again, last week we talked about the heart. This week we're talking about the soul. Remember, Moses wasn't separating these things. Together they describe someone who is completely devoted to God. But what we're going to do today is zoom in on this one word, soul. In Deuteronomy, the word soul comes from the Hebrew word nephesh, N-E-P-H-E-S-H. Not that you need to know that, but I just thought it was cool, and I just wanted to point it out. Nephesh. Now, the soul we were talking about isn't a ghost inside your body. It's your life, your whole living self, your very being, your deepest identity, the thing that makes you, you, is your soul. Remember in Genesis 2, it says, and the Lord God formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. The breath of life that God breathed into you made you who you are, a living soul, a living being or creation or creature, some translations would say. So Moses in Deuteronomy 6, he gives us a command. This isn't a suggestion. It didn't say you should or you might want to or it would be good if you did. It said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. It's an interesting phrase though, isn't it? Love God with all your soul. Not something you would normally maybe say. However, I remember years ago as I was studying this passage for this week, someone actually asked me one night, Ben, how's your soul? And I thought, what a weird question to ask someone. Now, backstory, I'm sitting there running sound at a band practice at Bon Air Baptist Church. This lady, Jessica, who was in the group Resound, might not mean anything to you, but they went on America's Got Talent. They didn't make it all the way to the end, but they were a very good singing group here in Richmond that was affiliated with Bon Air Baptist. And so she comes in, and she's very nice. I haven't seen her in a while. She goes, hey, how's it going, Ben? I said, good. And she said, oh, that's good. How's your soul? And it's like, wow. When somebody asks you that, you really got to check yourself. Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I'm living right. Like, I had some weird thoughts today. Like, how do you respond to how's your soul? But I said, I'm doing well, and it's good. But I realized that she wasn't asking how my body was doing or how work was going. She was asking about the deepest part of me. And that leads to the big idea today. Your soul will never be satisfied by anything less than Jesus. Nothing. It will not be satisfied with anything else. We actually saw a picture of this in the game we played earlier. Some of those flavors that y'all tried to guess were pretty good, right? But here's the thing about gum, and you already know. It tastes great for a little while, but then what happens? The flavor fades. And eventually, you find yourself wanting to grab another piece. think a lot of people live their lives like that. I know I do sometimes. We keep looking for the next thing that's going to satisfy us because maybe the old thing lost its flavor and now we need a new thing. Or maybe we just want another one of this thing, but that got kind of old, so we need something else to satisfy us. Maybe it's another relationship, another game, another phone, another trend, another achievement, another experience. The world gives you a taste, but it never truly satisfies. I know that because I spent years chasing things I thought would finally satisfy me. In high school, I've probably shared this story before, but I wanted to be Nino Brown. That might not mean anything to you unless you saw the movie New Jack City, then it would. I wanted to be a drug dealer, a successful drug dealer. True story. And the crazy thing is I got what I wanted. I had drugs, I had money, I had power, I had respect. And I thought that's what I needed. But I lost myself. I lost who I was and became somebody I never wanted to be in that process of trying to satisfy something. Years later, I came across something Jesus said that perfectly described my life. It's in Mark 8:36. It says, "What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit or lose their soul?" Looking back, I wasn't really chasing money or power or respect. I was chasing something my soul thought money could give me. Maybe for you it's popularity or looks, grades, sports, relationships, followers, acceptance. All of us know what it's like to chase something we think will satisfy us, right? We all know what it's like to try to get something to satisfy us. I'm reminded of the woman at the well in John chapter 4 who came every day to fulfill a physical need, thirst. But Jesus says to her, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst." She kept coming back because the water she was drinking didn't last. It's satisfied for a little while, but then you're thirsty again. And here's what I love about the story. Jesus didn't shame her for being thirsty or for being unsatisfied or for chasing the next thing or trying to be popular or fit in or try another thing. He didn't shame her for that. He didn't even say, "Come back when you've got your life together or when you figure it out." He met her right there at the well, right in the middle of her brokenness, right in the middle of her mistakes. And instead of giving her more rules, he offered her himself. A beautiful picture. That's the gospel. There she is, searching, chasing, thirsty, looking for something to satisfy her. And Jesus meets her right where she is. Maybe for some of you, that's you today. Maybe you're in a place where you're searching for something. Maybe you're thirsty, hungry. We'll get to hunger in a minute. And you've been pulling on different things, but they've kind of lost their flavor. And God says, "Hey, I'm right here. I came here for you." That's the gospel. Jesus doesn't just point out that we're thirsty. He becomes the living water our souls have been searching for all along. What we're really searching for is Jesus. What the world is really in need of and searching for is Jesus. It's just a lot of people out there don't know him and don't know that fact. But you do know. So here's the question. If Jesus is the one who satisfies our souls, why do we keep running back to everything else? Man, if we could solve that, we could probably make a lot of money, like if you want to go back to the money thing, because like that's a big problem to solve, because I'm not saying I got that all figured out either. But Jesus actually answers that question too. Right after Jesus was baptized, the Spirit led him into the wilderness, where he would fast for how many days? 40 days and 40 nights. So he's hungry. I mean, like He's hungry, like he's really hungry. And that's exactly when Satan shows up. In his weakest moment, when you feel like you can't make it, when you feel like you're not good enough, when you feel like everything bad keeps happening to you, when you feel like nobody cares about you, when you feel like you don't fit in, when you're hungry, that's when the enemy shows up. Not when you're flying high, not when you're praising the Lord in here, not when you're doing all the right things. No, he likes to show up when things aren't good and then shame you and tell you that you're not good and remind you of what you've done and tell you you're never going to be nothing. You're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about. That's what he does, right? Some of you have been there. So he shows up when Jesus is hungry. And says the tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Why? Because he's hungry. Like, it seems simple, right? Like, you're hungry, just make some bread, Jesus. Like, can you do it or what? Can you do it? Can you do it? Jesus answered, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on what? Every word that comes from the mouth of God. Do you hear what Jesus is saying? Your body needs food. We know that. We're human beings. But your soul needs something more. Your body can be full while your soul is starving. You can eat a good meal, 3-4 meals a day, good desserts. I mean, we can go steak, we can go fish, lobster, we can go chicken, fried, like we can go all that way, cake, vanilla ice cream, chocolate drizzle, peanut butter cups on top. Like, we can get all that and get filled up to where we just feel like we're going to bust and yet still be starving on the inside because we're searching for something to fill us, and maybe we're using food as one of many things that we use to try to satisfy a desire that food, physical, can't do. Is this making sense? Have you ever eaten a whole bag of chips and then 10 minutes later you're hungry again? Nash, I like your honesty, Nash. I like that, Nash. Why is that? Because junk food satisfies you for a little while, but then what happens? You're hungry again. Jesus wasn't saying food isn't important. He was saying something is more important. Your body needs bread, meaning like food, physical food, protein, fruits, vegetables, etc. But your soul needs God. That's what your soul needs. Every one of us is hungry for something. Every one of us is searching for something. Every one of us is thirsty for something. The question isn't whether you're hungry. The question is, what are you feeding your soul? Because your soul will never be satisfied with anything less than Jesus. Some of us have been chewing on the same empty promises for years, and the flavor is gone. But Jesus is still offering living water today. He's still the only one who can satisfy the deepest part of who we are. He is the only one. Jesus isn't angry that you're hungry. He created your soul to hunger for him. That's why he doesn't push thirsty people away. He invites them to come. Come to the table. I should have left the table here. That actually would have been a pretty good illustration. Come to the table. None of us gets this right every day. I do not get this right every day. Don't hear me wrong that I have it figured out, because I'm still growing every day. There are still days when I try to find satisfaction in things that can't satisfy me. Like the big house and the white picket fence and the Lambo and the McLaren and the BMW M2 and the Audi R8. And, I still have those desires. Because I think that would make me happy. Like, I really think if I drove a Tesla back in the day, that would make me satisfied. Guess what? Spoiler alert. I'm still not satisfied. I think if I got a R8, a Lambo, whatever you want to say, G-Wagon, whatever you want to put on it, that you'd be satisfied, you'd be just, everything is lovely, and everybody be looking at you, be like, hey, girl, No. It won't satisfy you. It will for a little bit, like maybe a few months, maybe a year. depending on the type of car, it will make you feel pretty good about yourself. You know, like when you're wearing the fresh stuff, like you feel good for a moment, and then that stuff fades away, and now the new clothes are in, and you're like, it's like the Nike tech suit. I finally get a Nike tech suit, and now I hear Nike tech suits aren't even in anymore. And now I hear you got to get baggy jeans, and I got all these tight jeans. And I'm like, you just can't keep up with these things. None of that stuff is going to satisfy you. Why? Because it's not supposed to. Because it's all temporary. It's all worldly. The only thing that will satisfy us, really satisfy us, is Jesus. Following Jesus isn't about pretending you've arrived. It's about learning day by day to keep coming back to the one who truly satisfies. It's a daily thing. You got to keep coming back to him, not the other things that we tend to run to. That's why Jesus doesn't say figure it out. He says, come to me. Come to me. So some of you were here last week, some of you weren't, so I'll give a little explanation. We are starting this new thing at the end of the messages, at least for right now this season, where we're breaking into groups of 3. I encouraged the folks last week, choose these groups wisely. Do not get into groups of 3 with people that make you laugh. Do not get into groups of 3 with people that just tell you you're awesome. Get into groups of 3 of people you can be honest and real with, who maybe can hold you accountable, who you can have some real dialogue with, who you feel like would be a good example for you. Those are the type of groups we want to get in. So I'm going to pray, but after I finish praying, then I want you to go ahead and find your groups of 3, spread out anywhere you want in the sanctuary, and I'm going to put 3 questions, kind of like group missions. I'm going to put some questions on the board, and you just talk about those questions while you're in your group. Lord, thank you for this message, God. Thank you for everything that takes place here. Thank you for you being the living water, God, that we need in our life. Thank you for being the bread that sustains us, that fills us, that satisfies us. Lord, help us to be so satisfied and fulfilled with you that we stop looking for other things, that we stop hungering and thirsting for other things, that we stop comparing what others have in the world and thinking, I need that too. Help us to just have eyes towards you. Help us to get so filled with your spirit that we're just overflowing and we don't even have room to put anything else in our soul but you. So God, would you maybe some of us are too filled with other things. We don't have room for God. Maybe tonight is a night where you just got to release some things. Maybe tonight is a night where you got to let some things go, get some things out of you so that you can have some room for God to come in and fill you and sustain you and really satisfy you. So Lord, that's my prayer, is that you would speak to us tonight about this matter and these things, and as we break into these groups, that your spirit would just be in those 3 people, that you would speak to them, that you would open their hearts, let them be honest with each other and with you as they go over these questions and have discussion. In Jesus' name, amen.